You know, when you picture high-level military decision-making, you probably imagine a very specific, very human scene.
Oh yeah, like a crowded war room.
Right. Generals, intelligence officers, all huddled around this massive table, scattered with satellite maps.
Everyone drinking like their fourth cup of stale coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Debating the legal and strategic merits of a single strike for hours. I mean, maybe even days.
Right, because that's the traditional chain of command. It's methodical, it involves all these multiple layers of oversight, and fundamentally it relies on human judgment.
Yeah.
We like to believe there is a heavy, solemn weight attached. Yeah, it's wild.
We're looking at a modern battlefield right now in 2026, where the speed of decision-making has just completely bypassed human cognition.
It really has.
And to understand exactly how we got here, we're unpacking a massive stack of recent investigative sources today. We are looking at reports from outlets like Plus 972 Magazine, Human Rights Watch, Time, and some really deep-dive military defense publications. Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission for you today is to understand a monumental shift in human history. I mean, artificial intelligence is no longer just a logistical tool for the military.
Right, like it's not just an algorithm used to manage supply chains or predict when a fighter jet needs maintenance anymore.
Exactly. AI is now the actual intelligence-generating kill list. It is compressing strike times from hours to mere minutes, and it is physically stepping onto the battlefield.
It is. And before we dive into the mechanics of how this is happening, it is absolutely crucial that we lay down some ground rules for our discussion today.
Yes, very important.
Because the sources we're analyzing cover highly politically charged ongoing conflicts. Specifically, we're talking about the United States and Iran, Israel and Gaza and Ukraine and Russia.
Exactly. And I want to be incredibly clear to you listening right now. We are not taking any sides here.
None at all.
We are not endorsing any political viewpoints, nor are we validating the geopolitical motivations or actions of any nation or group mentioned in these reports.
Right. Our sole purpose today is to impartially report the factual information.
Just the facts.
Yeah, the facts and the technological realities contained in this original source material. We're looking strictly at the technology itself, how it functions, and how it is actively changing warfare.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start with the sheer speed of this technology, because there was a staggering display of AI military power just recently in March 2026.
Operation Epic Fury.
Operation Epic Fury.
Yeah, the scale of Epic Fury is still difficult for many military historians to even wrap their heads around. I mean, during this operation, the U.S. military struck between 5,500 and 6,000 targets in Iran in the span of just 3 weeks.
But the number that jumped out at me from the reports, the one that's just crazy, was from the very beginning of the operation. 1,000 of those targets were struck in the very first 24 hours.
Yeah? 1,000.
Think about that for a second. 1,000 targets. That is more than one strike every minute and a half, non-stop, for a full day.
It's unbelievable speed.
That volume is physically impossible for a human war room to identify, vet, and approve in a single day. So how do they actually pull that off?
Well, they used a system called Palantir's Maven Smart System.
Right.
So Project Maven originally started back in 2017 as a relatively simple Pentagon initiative. The goal back then was just to use basic machine learning to scan hours of boring drone footage to look for vehicles.
Right, just basic pattern recognition.
Exactly. But by 2026, Palantir turned it into a $1.3 billion juggernaut. It now has over 20,000 active users across all 6 military branches.
But how does Maven actually process that much intelligence so fast? Because, I mean, the sources say it's taking in data from 9 separate military intelligence systems.
Yeah, systems that historically wouldn't even talk to each other.
Right, and fusing them into one interface across 3 different security domains.
Exactly. Maven ingests absolutely everything. I mean, live satellite feeds, surveillance drones, intercepted communications, and archived intelligence.
Wow.
It uses specialized computer vision to instantly identify a target and output precise GPS coordinates. But then, and this is the crazy part, it feeds that raw data into an AI language model, specifically Anthropic's Claude.
Wait, Claude? Like the chatbot?
Yeah, and this is where the speed really comes from. Claude's job isn't to aim the missile. Its job is to read the Geneva Conventions, look at the target data, and instantly write a human-readable legal memo justifying the strike.
You are kidding me.
No, and it also recommends exactly which weapon to use to minimize collateral damage while destroying the target.
I want to make sure you catch this because this blew my mind when I read it. Think of the traditional military kill chain like a criminal trial.
Okay, yeah.
You have detectives gathering evidence, prosecutors arguing the legal justification, and a judge handing down a sentence. That takes time.
A lot of time.
Moving to Maven is like taking the detective, the prosecutor, and the judge, putting them inside a single black box, and having it spit out a fully legally justified verdict in 3 seconds.
What's fascinating here is how this fundamentally changes the anatomy of a strike. Cameron Stanley, the Department of Defense's chief digital officer, was quoted calling this revolutionary.
Revolutionary, wow.
And from a strictly military efficiency standpoint, he's right. The kill chain, that whole process of identifying a target, making the decision, and executing the strike has been compressed to a point where the speed of warfare has fundamentally outpaced traditional human deliberation.
Which brings us to a very dark, very complex reality. Because if Maven represents the terrifying speed of AI warfare, what happens when an AI is tasked with deciding who to target on a mass scale?
Yeah, that's the next step.
If we are moving too fast for human debate, how does a machine decide who is a combatant? The sources point us to Israel's Lavender AI system.
Right. So Lavender was brought to light by the investigator outlet Plus 972 magazine in April 2024. They interviewed 6 Israeli intelligence officers who detailed the inner workings of this system.
And the scale is just massive.
According to the reports, Lavender scanned approximately 90% of Gaza's 2.3 million residents.
And it assigned every single one of those people a numerical score from 1 to 100, right?
Exactly.
That score basically indicated the AI's estimation of the likelihood that the person was affiliated with Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad. But how does a machine actually score a human life? What is it even looking at to generate that number?
It looks at behavioral breadcrumbs. Machine learning models thrive on finding patterns in massive data sets that humans would miss. So Lavender was analyzing mass surveillance data.
On what kind of data?
Like, were you in a WhatsApp group with a known militant? Did you change your cell phone recently, which might indicate trying to evade tracking? Do you live in the same apartment building as a suspect?
Just everyday digital stuff.
Yeah, it aggregates all these seemingly mundane digital footprints to generate a kill score. And at its peak, based purely on those algorithmic scores, Lavender generated a kill list of 37,000 potential human targets.
37,000 people. And it gets more deeply unsettling because generating the list was really only half the process. There was a companion system to Lavender called Where's Daddy?
Yes. The specific function of the Where's Daddy system was to track the targets generated by Lavender and alert military officers when those individuals entered residential buildings.
Which, according to the investigative reports, was typically their family homes at night.
Right. The logic being that it is much easier to strike a stationary home than a moving vehicle.
The sources also impartially report the calculated civilian casualty thresholds that were authorized alongside this system.
Yeah, this is a heavy part of the report.
For junior operatives identified by the AI, the military deemed 15 to 20 civilian deaths as acceptable collateral damage per strike.
And for senior commanders, triple-digit civilian casualties were authorized.
And the result, as investigators reported, was that entire Palestinian families were wiped out inside their homes. Thousands of people, mostly women and children not involved in the fighting, were killed by airstrikes directed by this AI system. So what does this all mean?
Well, the defense of these systems is always that there is a human in the loop.
Right, a human has to press the final button.
Exactly. But the intelligence officers interviewed reported spending as little as 20 seconds reviewing each AI-generated target before authorizing a bombing.
20 seconds.
Yeah.
If you're taking 20 seconds to review a decision that ends human lives, is that human in the loop just a psychological comfort?
You've hit on a deeply recognized psychological phenomenon here called automation bias.
Okay, what is that exactly?
Automation bias is the human tendency to defer to machine recommendations, especially in high-stress, high-speed environments.
Like a war zone.
Exactly. When a highly sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar computer, one that processes more data in a second than a human could in a lifetime, tells a tired, stressed intelligence officer, "This is the target," the human brain naturally assumes the computer knows better.
Hold on, I want to push back on that a bit. I mean, I understand relying on a calculator for math or trusting Google Maps to find the fastest route, but we are talking about dropping bombs on residential buildings.
Right.
Are these intelligence officers really just blindly trusting a screen? Or is there massive pressure from military command to just move faster and clear the queue?
Well, it is a combination of both. The sources indicate there was immense pressure to produce targets quickly, but that pressure is exactly what makes automation bias so dangerous.
Because they just default to the machine.
Yes. When you combine operational fatigue with algorithmic deference, that 20-second review effectively hands the moral and lethal decision-making power completely over to the machine. The human is just a rubber stamp.
And if we're relying on a machine that heavily, what happens when the machine is just wrong?
Oh, and it happens.
Because if I use an AI to write an email or summarize a document, it hallucinates half the time. It makes mistakes. Is there an example in the sources of this going tragically wrong in combat?
Yes, there is. And it highlights the fundamental flaw of relying on remote data. Let's look at the tragic U.S. strike on an Iranian girls' school.
Oh, yeah.
Maven directed a strike that resulted in the deaths of over 170 people, mostly young girls.
Why did it get it wrong? If it's ingesting all this satellite data and communications, how does it target a school?
Because Maven relied on military databases that were fundamentally flawed. There was indeed a military compound adjacent to the school, but 13 years prior, a wall had been built separating the school from the compound.
13 years ago.
Yes, that wall, that 13-year-old architectural change was not updated in the databases the AI was using. The AI didn't know the wall was there, so it treated the school and the compound as the exact same target area.
This is the terrifying math of AI warfare. Let's apply that to the Lavender Systems list of 37,000 targets we talked about earlier.
Okay.
In the tech world, if an AI has a 90% accuracy rate, that is considered a massive success. You launch a product with 90% accuracy.
That's not great.
But a 10% error rate on a kill list of 37,000 means 3,700 completely innocent people are deliberately targeted for death.
This raises an important question. What is the acceptable error rate for a machine that kills? AI systems are only as good as their training data, and military data is notoriously chaotic, it is often outdated, and it is highly imperfect.
And this exact realization caused an absolute earthquake in Silicon Valley.
It really did.
Because how does a tech company react when their chatbot starts justifying airstrikes? We mentioned Anthropic earlier, the tech company that makes the Claude AI model.
Right, the one Maven used to generate those automated legal justifications.
Okay.
This became known as the Anthropic crisis. When Anthropic executives fully realized how their language model was being deployed in Operation Epic Fury, they attempted to restrict the military use of Claude. They essentially tried to pull the plug on the Pentagon.
And the government's response was swift. I mean, the Trump administration retaliated by officially declaring Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security.
Yeah, they ordered all federal agencies to phase out Claude within 6 months.
And who stepped in to take those lucrative defense contracts? OpenAI.
Yep.
It's wild to think about. You have tech companies building large language models designed to write polite marketing emails, summarize PDFs, and brainstorm coding ideas.
Harmless stuff, usually.
Right. And the government's using that exact same software architecture to automatically generate legal justifications for dropping bombs.
Because AI is a general-purpose technology. Once the intelligence is created, its application is entirely dependent on whoever holds the license.
That's a good point.
The algorithm doesn't know if it's writing a recipe or a kill order, and right now the military holds the license. But they are taking it far beyond software in a remote command center.
Right. So if the fundamental flaw of remote AI targeting is that it relies on outdated maps and faulty satellite data, like the wall at the Iranian school, the military's next logical step is to bypass remote data entirely.
Exactly.
They need the AI physically on the ground, seeing the target itself in real time. And that is exactly what we are seeing unfold in Ukraine right now.
Ukraine has effectively become the world's laboratory for AI warfare. They've experienced this massive drone revolution.
How so?
Initially, human operators were flying drones via remote control, but Russian electronic warfare and severe signal jamming made maintaining that remote connection incredibly difficult.
So they were losing the feeds.
Right. So to bypass the jamming, they just handed the flight controls over to the AI.
And leap in effectiveness was staggering. I mean, using autonomous guidance, their drone hit rates jumped from 10 to 20%, all the way up to 70 to 80%.
It's a huge jump.
But how autonomous are we talking here? Is a human still involved at all?
Well, we need to understand the autonomy spectrum here. Right now, a human operator still looks at a screen and selects the target, say, an enemy tank.
Okay, so a human says go.
Yes. But once the target is locked, the AI takes over and flies the final 100 to 1,000 meters entirely on its own.
Wow.
It doesn't need a signal back to the base. It uses its onboard camera to recognize the shape of the target, adjusts for wind and movement, and literally flies itself right into it.
And Ukraine is leaning into this hard.
Yeah.
In March 2026, they opened up their real combat data, millions of annotated frames from tens of thousands of actual combat drone flights, and shared it with international partners to train new, smarter AI models.
Yeah, their stated goal is for 50% of all drones they purchase in 2025 to have full AI guidance.
But drones are just the air. The ground is changing too. In February 2026, we saw the first known instance of humanoid robots being tested on an active battlefield in Ukraine.
The Phantom MK1.
The Phantom MK1. Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly terrifying to picture.
Yeah, the descriptions are wild.
The Phantom MK1 is a robot, 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighing 180 pounds, encased in black steel with a tinted glass visor. It's armed with multiple weapon systems and designed for high-risk operations like reconnaissance and bomb disposal.
Basically a mechanical soldier.
Yeah, but my question when I read this was, why a humanoid? Why build a walking robot with 2 arms and 2 legs? Why not a treaded tank or, I don't know, a 4-legged dog robot?
It's a great question, and the answer is because the entire theater of war was built for the human anatomy.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. Stairs, doors, the layout of trenches, the driver's seat of a vehicle. A treaded tank cannot walk up to a 2-story house, turn a doorknob, and clear a room.
Oh, right.
A humanoid robot can.
Right.
It is designed to navigate the exact same physical space as a human soldier would. And this isn't a one-off prototype either.
No, they're mass producing them.
Goldman Sachs is projecting up to 100,000 humanoid robots shipping globally in 2026. And the startup behind the Phantom plans to manufacture 50,000 military-capable units by the end of 2027.
You know, back in 2017, an AI researcher named Stewart presented a short film at the United Nations called Slaughterbots.
Oh, I remember that.
It showed these little palm-sized autonomous drones using facial recognition to hunt down and kill specific people without any human input.
It was terrifying.
And at the time, it was explicitly presented as a dystopian sci-fi warning. It was fiction meant to scare policymakers into regulation. But sitting here in 2026, looking at drones that fly themselves into targets and black steel humanoid robots testing weapons in Ukrainian trenches, I mean, that fiction is now our daily reality.
It took less than a decade.
Less than a decade.
The Ukrainian defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, summarized it perfectly. He said, "The future of warfare belongs to autonomous systems. Full autonomy is no longer a distant theoretical concept debated by philosophers in a classroom. The technological gap is closing by the month."
Which brings us to the edge of the ethical abyss. When we synthesize everything we've just unpacked, the unprecedented speed of Palantir's Maven, the massive scale of Israel's Lavender, and the physical, autonomous reality of the Phantom MK1 humanoid, what are the broader implications for humanity here?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are facing an accountability gap that international law simply cannot handle.
How so?
Craig Jones, a warfare expert quoted in the sources, noted that by using these systems, we are taking tens of thousands of human hours of deliberation and automating them into mere seconds. This opens up massive, deeply problematic legal loopholes.
Right.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has explicitly warned that AI-driven targeting blurs accountability and puts civilian populations at severe risk.
Let me pose this directly to you listening. Think about this scenario. If an autonomous robot on the ground or an AI targeting system like Maven in the cloud commits a war crime.
Like the school.
Exactly. If it misidentifies a target and bombs a girls' school, who goes on trial at The Hague? Is it the military commander who pressed a button after a 20-second review? Is it the 24-year-old Silicon Valley programmer who wrote the flawed training code? Or is it the CEO of the tech company that sold the license?
Legally speaking, we simply don't know. The current international laws of armed conflict, the Geneva Conventions were written exclusively for human decision makers.
Right. They assume human intent.
They assume human intent, human error, and human malice. The legal framework simply does not exist for an AI generating a kill list of 37,000 people and approving strikes in seconds.
Wow.
And because there is no framework, we are in a terrifying new arms race. Every time one nation develops a faster, less restricted AI to gain an edge, their enemies are forced to do the exact same thing just to survive.
It's a race to the bottom of human oversight.
Exactly.
So, to summarize the sheer scale of what we've covered in this deep dive,
Mhm.
we are living through a massive, irreversible shift in the way our species wages war.
We really are.
From algorithms determining who lives and dies in Gaza and Iran based on WhatsApp groups, to autonomous humanoid robots walking the battlefields of Ukraine, the bottom line is stark. AI is no longer just a tool of warfare, it is warfare.
The question is no longer if AI will be used to kill. It's who decides the rules and if anyone actually has the power to enforce them.
And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over on your own. We talked about how every superpower is actively racing to remove the human in the loop to increase the speed of their strikes.
Because human deliberation is seen as a bottleneck.
Right. So what happens when two fully autonomous AI-driven military networks from opposing nations engage each other directly?
Oh, wow.
Could a massive global war be started, fought, and finished entirely by interacting machines in a matter of minutes? We could be looking at a future where the war is over, leaving an empty war room with cold coffee, before human leaders even realize the conflict has begun.
It is a truly chilling prospect.
Thank you for joining us on this intense deep dives. We'll be back soon with more sources to unpack. Until next time.